Recording in progress.
Good morning, members and colleagues, stakeholders. We are trying to get members so that we can correct. How many members are in the platform now, Alan?
Morning, Chair. Currently, there's 5 members on the platform, Chair. So it's one more.
No, okay, thanks. Okay, Alan, it looks like now we are collating.
Yes, Chair, currently 7 members.
No, okay. Thanks very much. Let's start with our meeting. It's gonna be long. Can you flight the agenda?
Chair, if I can just ask Beauty to share because I'm having trouble with Word at the moment.
Okay. Butle, are you there? Okay. Okay, thanks. The meeting is officially open, and let me welcome honorable members of this standing committee. Welcome the officials. That's the support team of SCOF and all parliamentary teams. Welcome the stakeholders who made submissions and who are back here today to get response from National Treasury. Welcome officials from National Treasury, GPA, GPEF, and SARS if they are in the platform, and other organs of state, the media, the public, and everybody. Let's move to apologies. Alan?
Yes, Chair, thank you. Apologies received from Mr. Lekhanyane. Ms. Khaleka Mazibuko, but she has since joined. Mr. Beasley, Dr. Burke, and then Ms. Mountray. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, those are the apologies. And so let's move to item 2. The purpose of today's meeting is to get the response from National Treasury to the submissions that we received during the public hearings on the Special Pensions Amendment Bill B8 2026. Okay. Comments by participants. Okay, yeah, they will come after National Treasury. Okay, there we are. National Treasury, over to you.
Good morning, Honourable Chairperson and committee members and everyone else on the platform. I'm MP van Schoor. I'm the head of the DDG for Legal in National Treasury. I'm joined by the head of the Legislative Services team, Shalili Misser, as well as Nomaliso Bolisilo from the same unit who will do the presentation. And we also join by Kobelo Jonathan from the Government Pension Administration Agency. So I'm going to hand over to Nomaliso.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning to the honorable members. Good morning to everyone on the platform. Today we are here to provide the responses. And I think as an introduction, we would like just to highlight that we received 101 comments, and we then populated them into a matrix with responses from National Treasury. We also prepared this presentation by highlighting matters which we grouped in terms of the major areas that were raised. However, all the comments will be found in the matrix. Next slide. I think the first comment then is around participation in the liberation struggle and age requirements. The comment that we received stated that the bill should include persons who were previously excluded for administrative reasons. The comment, therefore, referenced Part 1 of the Special Pensions Act 1996, which deals with the right to a pension under the Special Pensions Act, requiring applicants to be at least 35 years of age on the commencement date. It was submitted that this age restriction is discriminatory against individuals who joined the liberation struggle at a young age. Next slide. Our response to this comment is that the purpose of the Special Pensions Act is to provide pension benefits to persons who made sacrifices for establishment of new constitutional order in South Africa and who were prevented from providing for their own pensions because of their full-time and active involvement in the liberation struggle. Furthermore, such persons must have served or advanced the aims of a banned political organization before 2 February 1990. And in many cases, this involvement resulted in arrest, detention, conviction, restriction, or banning orders under the laws that applied at the time. And the detention for political offenses is recognized under the Special Pensions Act. Next slide. We continue by saying any person who met all the qualifying criteria was eligible and would have been paid in accordance with the Act. And the age requirement was included because the Act sought to address lost opportunities to provide for retirement as a result of full-time participation in the liberation struggle. And therefore, the assumption that was that persons below the prescribed age still had an opportunity to enter the formal labor market and contribute to the new democratic dispensation. The next slide. We continue to say, therefore, that the age criteria is justified because it was intended to cover those who were eligible for employment at the relevant time. For example, the cutoff extends to person born on or before 1 December 1966, and such a person would have been 30 years of age on 1 December 1996, which is the date on which the pensions commenced, and 19 years old in 1985. The year 1985 is relevant because the Act requires a total or combined minimum period of service of at least 5 years to a banned political organization. The key consideration is whether the person was prevented from providing for a pension because of full-time involvement in the liberation struggle. Furthermore, the assumption was that anyone younger than 30 on 1 December 1996 still had sufficient time to save for environment and contribute to the new democratic dispensation. Next slide. Another theme in the comments was under governance and administration of special pensions. The comment was received was that it was submitted that the Special Pensions Board and the Special Pensions Review Board should be reformed to include persons who were directly affected by apartheid-era criminality. Our response to this comment is that the Special Pensions Board was dissolved in February 2007. This followed the recommendations of the SIU report. The administration of special pensions, therefore, was established through the 2008 Amendment Act. Next slide. The other theme was under benefits, dependents, and support measures. The comment goes as follows, that the submissions requested expanded benefits, including medical care, skills development for children, and housing support. It also proposes that children of activists who were mentally affected, disabled, maimed, or deceased should receive benefits comparable to those available to military veterans. Our response is that the state already provides assistance in the form of medical benefits. It also includes bursaries and housing through the Department of Military Veterans. The RDP program, NSFAS scheme, learnerships and skills programs offered through the various SETAs. And in addition, other benefits are available to military veterans for injuries sustained during the military service, including the members of the non-statutory forces such as the MK, APLA, and ASANLA. Next slide, please. The other theme of the comments deals with the recognition of liberation struggle participation. And the comment expressed that several individuals expressed support for the Special Pensions Amendment Bill and requested that their participation in the liberation struggle be recognized under the Special Pensions Dispensation. And our response to that is that the Act does provide for pension benefits to be paid to liberation struggle veterans who sacrificed and contributed to the establishment of the democratic dispensation, as well as to other qualifying beneficiaries. And to qualify, a person must have been prevented from providing for their own pensions because of active involvement in service to a banned political organization. And where such service was an offense under the laws applicable at the time and made it impossible for the person to enter the formal labor market and save for requirement. Next slide. A comment continues, and we are saying, therefore, applications will be assessed against these requirements. And the relationship between the political activist and the banned political organization must be established. It must satisfy the requirements of the Act as well. And the persons whose participation was ad hoc, campaign-specific, or not linked to membership for, of, or service to a banned political organization would not qualify. Next slide, please. The next theme for the comments is under political detention and qualifying service. And the comment we received referred to submissions that were received from political detainees. However, it was unclear from those submissions whether the applicants met the other conditions required for inclusion in the Special Pensions Dispensation. Our response is as follows. The detention is recognized by the Act. The key question is whether the period of detention, either on its own or together with additional full-time active involvement through a banned political organization, amounts to a minimum or a combined period of at least 5 years before 2 February 1990. And political detention is therefore recognized, but the applicant must still meet the remaining requirements so that the sacrifices made and the inability to provide for pension before 2 February 1990 may be properly assessed. Next slide. The following theme on the comments was on survivor spouse, dependent, and funeral benefits. And the comment here was that some submissions proposed that the bill should guarantee survivor pensions, widow benefits, children's benefits, and funeral benefits. In respect of funeral benefits, surviving spouses and dependents are recognized and paid where the deceased activist met the requirements of the Act. Furthermore, the Act makes provision for funeral benefits for deceased liberation struggle veterans, spouses, life partners, and dependents. Next slide. And then the next theme is community structures, student politics, and related formations. And the comment here is that some submissions called for the recognition of Amabuto, self-defense units, and community defenders. They noted that thousands of ordinary South Africans participated in self-defense units, community structures, protection structures, Amabuto formations, and civil defense organization. And it is indicated that these individuals protected communities during periods of political violence, often at a great personal risk. Many were injured, detained, tortured, displaced, or killed, yet they remain largely invisible in pension legislation. This submission proposes that the amendment bill expressly recognize verified members of self-defense units and community defense structures whose participation formed part of the broader liberation struggle. Next slide. The next theme is on community, and it continues. And the position, therefore, in terms of our response is that regarding the self-defense units and Amabuto, that is addressed through the definition of a political organization. And it excludes SDUs, Amabuto, and similar formations. However, members may qualify if they meet the core requirements of the Act, which is they must have been prevented from providing for their own pensions, that they must have served for a minimum or combined period of at least 5 years, and must have served under a banned political organization before 2 February 1990, and all these requirements as listed must be satisfied. And Amabuto members were previously advised accordingly, particularly where they served under or took instructions from the MK. The next slide. The comment under community structures, political, student politics and related formations, and another comment was a submission was received from an activist and student leader who was involved in SASCO, later participated in student representative councils and COSAS, served as an assistant general secretary, and was active in SAICO and SANCO. The submission also referred to campaigning through the Women's Forum against gangsterism and violence towards female students, and to joining the SDUs because of the brutality of the apartheid regime. Response to that we are offering is that the Act does not recognize student politics on its own. Recognition begins where a person was expelled or otherwise became actively engaged on a full-time basis in the liberation struggle for a total or combined period of at least 5 years before 2 February 1990 through a banned political organization. And the person must also have been prevented from providing for a pension because of that full-time political service. The next theme is under proposal of intergenerational restorative compensation, and the comment we received was that the proposal was that Parliament must establish a mechanism for intergenerational restorative compensation and support, recognizing that the sacrifices made by liberation fighters affected entire family structures. Trauma and deprivation have been transmitted across generations, and that the children and grandchildren of veterans have borne consequences arising directly from the struggle. And such support, it continues to say, may include educational assistance, skills development programs, health and psychosocial support, scholarships and bursaries, heritage and memorial programs, and a framework for intergenerational compensation where appropriate. Our response is that the Act does provide for liberation struggle veterans and their qualifying beneficiaries, and that the beneficiaries qualify upon the death of the liberation struggle veteran, provided that the spouse, the life partner, or dependent meets the criteria. Furthermore, the injuries sustained during military service, including service in the non-statutory forces, are recognized through other government dispensations, and that the children of military veterans may also access bursaries through the Military Veterans Act. Next slide. The next theme was around the designated institution definition. And the comment noted that the bill replaces the board's delegation with a designated institution. However, it states that the comment states that it is not yet clear which entity will serve as the designated institution. And the submission therefore proposes that the designation institution be clearly defined, including its powers. We offer the response as follows. Section 31 of the Special Pensions Act defines a designated institution to mean A, the National Treasury, or B, the institution designated by the minister under Section 7. Next slide, please. And then the other one theme is matters outside the special pensions dispensation. And the comment is that some submissions requested assistance with military veterans' pensions. And the response we're offering in this regard is that the bill does not address challenges relating to military veterans' pensions. Recognition of military veterans and related pension benefits fall under the Department of Military Veterans, and that military veterans' benefits fall outside the scope of the Special Pensions Act, and all inputs relating to benefits under the Military Veterans Act should be directed to the Department of Military Veterans. Next slide. The other comment is that one submission requested that former political detainees or prisoners be included in the military veterans NSF pension dispensation. And our response we're offering is that the inclusion of former political prisoners in a military veterans pension dispensation should be taken up with the Department of Military Veterans as well. Next slide. The next theme was around applications, reapplications, and payment calculations. And the comment we received is that ex-combatants submitted that applicants with existing SP numbers should not be required to reapply. They also proposed that the special pension amount should be higher than the military veterans' pension. And the response we're offering in this regard is that applicants who previously applied and were rejected because of late submissions or insufficient documentation must reapply, even if they have existing SP numbers. Special pensions payments are calculated based on several factors, including age, the number of years spent in the liberation movement, and the current age of the pensioner. Next slide. And then the other comment under this theme of applications and reapplications is that some commentators were employed under the pre-1994 dispensation. And therefore, they requested supporting documents and asked to be included in the special pensions dispensation. And the response we're offering to this comment is that the Act and the bill apply to persons who served under a banned political organization before 2 February 1990, and who, because of that service, could not provide for their own pensions. And it appears, therefore, that these commentators were gainfully employed under the pre-1994 dispensation. They may, though, still approach the Department of Military Veterans to determine whether they qualify for registration as military veterans on the national database. Next slide, please. The other theme under comments was the requests for increased benefits and additional support. And one of the comments is that some submissions requested that the special pension amount be increased to help beneficiaries meet daily needs and household expenses. They also requested a medical aid allowance for spouses and dependents, employment opportunities for qualifying dependents, housing support, including assistance to complete unfinished houses or funding approved quotations for building materials and labor. And the response we are offering in this regard is that the special pensions payment calculation takes into account age, the number of years spent in the liberation struggle, and the current age of the pension. And therefore, the payment structure provides for income progression linked to age. And when it comes to medical assistance, housing support, and employment opportunities that fall outside the scope, they fall outside the scope of the Special Pensions Act. Okay, then the other theme in the comments is in relation to taxation of lump sum and backdated payments. And the comment indicated that, or rather raised concerns about the potential tax implications of envisaged lump sum and backdated payments. It proposed that the legislation should make provision for any unintended tax consequences. And we are offering a response as follows. National Treasury's position is that all pensions are treated as income under the tax legislation and are therefore and should remain subject to tax. And in this regard, we refer to the Minister of Finance's letter to the chairperson of this committee, the National Assembly, dated 18 June 2026. Next slide, please. The other theme is under oversight and advisory structures. Submissions proposed that representation of former non-statutory forces members and former political prisoners be formalized through a statutory oversight and advisory panel. The submissions further submitted that the bill should be implemented in a manner that honors the spirit of the Act and should not be reduced to a narrow administrative exercise. The response we're offering in this regard is that local structures from the various political formations are encouraged to establish their own help desks to assist applicants. However, from the lessons in the SIU investigation, it shows that the administration of special pensions should not be politicized. Political deployees should not form part of the administration or oversee the processing of applications, which then led to the amendment in 2008. And the other, we are continuing with the response where we are stating that the SIU also identified serious political collusions and maladministration arising from this model when it was used in the past. And therefore, the bill, when enacted, will be implemented fairly and in accordance with the provisions of this this Act, and that only applicants who meet the qualifying criteria will be approved. Next slide, please. Okay. Then there was a theme under verification and advisory structures continuing. And the comment was that there was a proposal for establishment of veterans verification and advisory panel to address historical disputes and missing records. And we offer a response that the proposal to establish a verification panel is supported outside the formal administration, and that local structures may establish their own verification teams or panels to assist applicants and to ensure that only deserving cases are supported. However, we caution that such a panel should not form part of the administration as indicated above of special pensions, as this model as presented, as was implemented in the past, resulted in serious maladministrations and political collusion as identified in the SIU report. Next slide. The next theme of the comments was under non-statutory forces exclusion. And the comments and the submissions argued that former non-white statutory force members and liberation soldiers were excluded, despite undergoing military training, participating in border patrols and liberation activities, living in exile and operating underground. And it was submitted that many lost educational and economic opportunities and were denied benefits solely because they were not white, creating an irrational distinction between individuals who rendered similar services. Next slide, please. We offer the following response that soldiers of the former TBVC state soldiers are excluded because they were employed by the governments of these states and were not prevented from providing for their own pensions, and that their existence was recognized by the laws applicable at the time, and they were not treated as terrorists. Next slide, please. Okay, and then the other theme of these comments was under the GEPF recognition of NSF years and lump sum proposals. The comment and in the submissions proposed that non-statutory forces pension arrangement be redrafted to allow for the payment of a lump sum when a person reaches pensionable age. And we offer a response that there is no non-statutory forces pension law. However, the GEP law recognizes NSF years as pensionable years for NSF members who integrated into the new dispensation and contribute to the GEPF. Upon retirement or resignation, those NSF years are incorporated into the members' GEPF pensionable years in terms of the GEPF law. An NSF member who receives a special pension would, however, forfeit the monthly special pension once the NSF years are recognized by the GEPF upon retirement or resignation. Next slide, please. There was a theme also on alleged discrimination based on race, and some submissions allege that the Special Pensions Act discriminates on the basis of race. And we offer the following response. The Act does not discriminate on the basis of race, and an applicant must be a South African citizen or entitled to be one and must meet all the requirements of the Act. Next slide, please. The next theme is on interaction between special pensions and other pension benefits. And some submissions argued that the special pensions should not reduce or affect other pension rights. Further, the submission states that APLAMVA supported the principle that special pensions constitute constitutional redress and should not be treated as welfare assistance. The submissions go on to recommend that the Act expressly provide that a special pension may not be used to reduce, replace, offset, or disqualify a beneficiary from receiving any other pension, retirement benefit, social security entitlement, or statutory benefit available under South African law. Next slide. Our response we are offering is that if a person is provided for and receives a special pension, the latter integrates into the new dispensation and contributes to the GEPF, that person may apply upon retirement for NSF years to be recognized under the GEPF law. Once those NSF years are recognized, that monthly special pension must cease as receiving both benefits for the same political service years would amount to double payment. We further offer that members receiving a military veteran's pension, if the special pension is approved and is higher than the military veteran's pension, the member will receive the more favorable or advantageous benefit rather than receiving both monthly benefits. Next slide, please. And there are comments that are not addressing matters that are in the bill, and some of those submissions provided for accounts of individual contributions and did not comment on the content of the bill. And we do understand that these comments, therefore, do not address the proposed bill directly. And we further encourage the commentators to apply when the process is open for submissions. And as a result, therefore, we, as the National Treasury, are having no amendments to the bill, and in light of the submissions that we received in terms of the bill. Thank you.
Okay. Are you done, National Treasurer?
Yes, thank you very much, Chairperson.
No, okay. Thanks for the response. Let's proceed to the next item. Comments by participants present at the public hearings. Each participant or stakeholder will be given, is allocated 2 minutes to comment. We'll start with MKMVA. Please time yourself, colleagues. MKMVA, are you there? Alan, is MKMVA in the platform?
Chair, I don't think.
Okay. If not, just check them if they are not in the platform. If they can't attend, and we allocate them the 2 minutes after COSAT, because we want the maximum participation of all stakeholders that presented last time. Foundation of ex-political detainees, are you there?
We are here, Chair.
Okay, over to you, Mr. Ngezi, 2 minutes.
4 minutes. Thank you very much, Chair. Thanks for the opportunity.
Comrade Base, it's 2 minutes, not 4.
Oh, sorry. I was just trying my luck, Chair. There are a lot of issues that have been raised here that we thought we...
You can still write to us. It's not it's allowed.
I beg your pardon, Chair?
If there are other issues, you can still give us some notes. You can send them to the secretary.
Okay,
now,
thank you. Chair, we would like to raise 2 pertinent issues, if not 4. The first one, it's so unfortunate the people who are formulating the bill, it's narrowly confining itself to military veterans. Now, whoever was doing that, forget that the struggle in South Africa was based on 4 pillars. And I'm sure they should be known, those 4 pillars. Now, I'm representing a component that really executed the mass mobilization pillar in the country. A huge contingents of young people who were unfairly excluded in this process because of age and other issues that have been raised here. Because as the Treasury was responding, I was also tempted to ask the response, is it from politicians or is it from the administrators within the National Treasury? So that we should know who we are dealing with in terms of these responses. Now, the issue of age as ex-political detainees, we are completely saying it's arbitrary because you then decide 66, those who were born in 66, but within our ranks, we had people who even went to prison as young as 12. Now, people who are dealing with these issues should be knowing the history of this country. You had people who went to prisons as young as 13, 14, 15. Now, if you benchmark with that particular thing of say 1966, and majority of them, these are the members that we are representing, majority of them after serving so many periods in detention, their education was disrupted. Those who managed to have it, they were not even employed anyway. Now, this is the unfair discrimination that I'm talking about. The issue of reducing these things to band organizations, it also says people who are dealing with this issue, they don't understand the history of this country. The struggle was not fought by band organization. It was fought by freedom fighters, which is why also, Chair, we also feel that you need to have a clear definition of who we are trying to address. And the war liberation veterans or freedom fighters becomes necessary because it involves those who were detained, those who went to prison as political prisoners, those who were underground, those who were even killed during the mass uprisings in the country. Now to limit it mechanically to non-statutory, statutory, is not addressing the plight of a number of people who are supposed to be benefiting on these issues. And the issue that we cannot be represented on these decision-making bodies is very unfair. The same SIU that we see in Matlanga Commission, they cannot cover themselves in glory to say they've been collusional. They have also been colluding on other issues. Now, people cannot be punished because one person in SIU decides that, no, people cannot come and sit there. We feel these are arbitrary decisions. That I was asking, who's deciding on this issue? That report of the SIU cannot punish well-deserving people because one or two rotten apples within their institution, or if they say there's been political collusion, why don't you identify people who are colluding and arrest them? You can't be punished because how do you get somebody in the National Treasury who also does not even understand what you are trying to address here and say he can represent these people? Why can't they represent themselves properly? We have tried to say these are the people that we feel in terms of the definition of the liberation of veterans. They can be the ex-political prisoners, detainees, and so forth. The irony of this thing, Chair, is that you've got people who also served longer periods of time in prison as detainees, not as prisoners. Now, what is the difference? The other one was sentenced, the other one was not sentenced. So these are the issues. We are saying the issue of the pension, the age must be taken out. We're also saying this also issue of savings, Chair, it must also be taken out. These are issues that are creating problems and are creating barriers in terms of people being given what is due to them. Let me just end there, Chair. I'm sure my 2 minutes is finished. Then other issues, I think we can, if you say we can still, we have done a composite report, Chair, in terms of after the presentation the last time, we can give you that so that you work on that. But we feel a lot needs to be addressed here so that we can also give other perspective on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Comrade Ngesi. Association, there's the Foundation of Ex-Political Detainees. Okay, now it's Association of Ex-Political Prisoners. Association of Ex-Political Prisoners. They are also not in the platform, Alan. Hello, Alan. Are they also not in the platform?
Yes, Chair, it doesn't seem like they are on the platform. I'll try and make a follow-up call.
ANC Veterans League. ANC Veterans League.
Good morning, and thank you very much for the presentation. And so what we'll do as veterans, we'll submit, we'll give a written submission, because there are a number of issues that we are not happy with. We need that they should be amended. We definitely make sure that before end of the week, a written submission is sent to the committee. But we are happy with the bill as it is, but there are a few amendments that we'd like to make sure that they are being attended to properly and professionally.
You speak to those issues for our benefit, because we also have to make comments at the end as members of.
Yeah, basically it's a question of the age restriction, because as you know, some of them joined the organization when they were 12 years old, were detained when they were 12 years old. Now, if you are saying that if you joined the organization in 1990 and you don't qualify, it sort of it discriminates against them. It's one of the things. And the second one is the issue of exclusion of those who were detained not belonging to political organizations. I don't know how we're going to handle it, because as you know, that apartheid regime was cruel, brutal. Immediately, if you are just walking in the street having a poster not belonging to any open organization, you get arrested because you're part and parcel of those. And so now you find that people are traumatized, and they were not part and parcel of banned organization. But if they can say that they've got verified documentation that they were arrested en masse, as the racist regime used to do, they should also benefit. That's what we feel in terms of special pension, because some of them were traumatized. Going into a detention for 6 months without trial, even not belonging to any organization, it is traumatizing, because people are demonstrating, we are part and parcel of this demonstration, and the racist regime come and take all of you and put you in solitary confinement for 6 months. Those people are traumatized. And so we feel that if they can prove, because I think correctional services does have records of people who have been detained and who suffered. And so as long as they can bring in proof that this is what happened to them, I think they should also qualify. That's our view.
Okay, thanks, President.
Thank you.
Okay. Fifth, Nomacala Celimo. Nomacala Celimo.
Up on the platform, Chair.
What's happening? Did we inform all the stakeholders, Alan, of today's meeting?
Yes, Chair. I sent the email with the link and agenda yesterday morning.
Okay. Number 6, Mawiga. Mawiga.
Still not on the platform, Chair. Maybe I should just, after the meeting, make contact with them to get their responses in writing if they do have any.
Yeah, let's do that, because if they were there on the first round and the next thing today they are not here, I think it's not right. We want this process to be seen to be legitimate and have a maximum participation of stakeholders. Comrade Susan Sivia.
I'm trying to. Good morning, Chair, Comrade Joe.
Morning.
Good morning. Comrade Joe, I would first start by appreciating the timely response that we've received from Treasury on the matter. And would want to concur with the first response. I think he covered a lot of issues that I think also I wanted to speak to, more especially on the issues that have been alluded to that are against what most of the comments were presenting in our last meeting, on the purpose why we felt there was a need for the bill to be amended to include, as it appeared, as it was stated in the last meeting. I just wanted to indicate, Chair, that the fact that a need had arisen that there should be an amendment is because of the situation on the ground, the difficulties that we are facing on the ground with the former liberation movement members, those who participated to be where we are today. Now, there are so many categories that have been mentioned in the report, which I think we need to, I don't know if it will be possible, Chair, for us to receive that report as members sitting in this meeting so that we could read ourselves and then respond accordingly, because I think I'm also going to concur with making the submission in writing after we have received the report, if it's possible that we receive those reports. And also to get the report of the, to use the report of the SIU. For me, I find it not in good faith, because in the first time when we're doing the submissions, we should have been brought to this fact that the board in the past, these were the issues that were picked, and this is what has been done so far, so that lessons could be drawn from the report of the SIU. Now, it's selective in a way that it comes out now after we've raised and made recommendations to say this is the way that we think things should be done. Now the SIU report is being put forward to say, because of what happened in the past, surely in that report there were recommendations and there were lessons drawn, because I strongly feel that the reinstatement of the board will also assist, because we'll have at least reference from the SIU on how this board could start to operate, so that it goes down, because we cannot have a system, or we cannot have a process that is run at a national level. Right now, as we are seated here, we are in the standing committee, and it's only few people who are able to make this input. So if we can disseminate this process and listen to the people who are really affected by the act itself as it stands at this day, surely we'll have to reconsider the situation that we are in. So I wanted to make that recommendation to say, can we receive this report and the SIU report with its recommendations on how to address the issues that they picked up? Because from there, I'm convinced that we'll have an idea of what we are supposed to be dealing with. More especially that we are talking about people's lives and their benefits. And it's very important for us to also open up even the issue of age. If you take the issue of discriminating one based on age, surely we are going to have different views and different scenarios. I accept that the Special Pensions Act, as it stands, does address some of the issues, but still there's a lot that needs to be done about that because of what we are seeing on the ground. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thanks, Comrade Susan. The next stakeholder, EOTOF. EOTOF.
Comrade, can I raise something if you allow?
Pardon?
Dr. Maswangani, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, over to you. We'll come back to you.
Thank you very much. My name is Stanley Wanyani from the Each One Teach One Foundation. Chairperson, there are a number of issues we would like to raise on these responses by National Treasury. The first problem we have is that, as usual, Treasury treats the current act as if it cannot be questioned. You know, one of the most striking features of the responses by National Treasury here repeatedly answers submissions by stating what the Act already says, instead of considering whether the amendment bill should change those provisions. For example, when people argue that the age requirement unfairly excluded many activists, Treasury simply explains why the original Act introduced the age requirement, rather than considering whether Parliament should now revisit that assumption. You know what is the problem here? This creates a secular argument. The law is correct because the law already says so. That is not the purpose of a constitutional amendment process. When Parliament invites public submissions, it is specifically asking whether existing provisions remain appropriate. Treasury, therefore, fails to engage with the actual policy question. The second issue we have is on National Treasury's over-reliance on assumptions rather than evidence. For example, it states that younger activists still had sufficient opportunity to join the labor market and save for retirement. That assumption ignores historical reality. The reality of our history is that many young activists were permanently blacklisted, spent years in exile, suffered long periods of detention, experienced interrupted education, were psychologically traumatized, and entered democracy with little formal employment experience. And many never recovered economically. So what Treasury does is that it provides no evidence showing that everyone under 30 successfully entered the labor market. Instead, it relies on a broad assumption that does not reflect South Africa's historical circumstances. The third issue we have is that the 5-year qualifying rule remains rigid. Our National Treasury says that applicants must show 5 years of full-time active service before the 2nd of February 1990. This creates several problems, Honorable Chair. Liberation participation rarely followed neat employment patterns. The reality is that many activists alternated between underground work, others were in detention, exile, community mobilization, clandestine operations. So requiring continuous or easily documented service disadvantages previously those whose activities had to remain secret. And that response by Treasury does not explain why 5 years remains the appropriate threshold today. The fourth problem we have is that
Can people mute, please? Those who are in the platform. So,
thanks. The third issue we would like to raise is that the administrative proof remains a major weakness in these responses. Treasury now repeatedly says applicants must prove their relationship with a banned political organization. This sounds reasonable administratively. However, Treasury does not explain how applicants should prove membership where records no longer exist. We know the history of this country. We grew up in this struggle. Many organizations have either destroyed the records or do not have them anymore. Others never kept membership registers because secrecy was important. In the case of some military veterans, for example, many commanders are deceased. Archives have disappeared. And so what Treasury simply does is that it places a heavy evidential burden on elderly applicants while offering very little flexibility. The sixth issue, the Each One Teach One Foundation chairperson would like to raise revolves on the recognition of political detention. Yes, Treasury acknowledges that that counts. However, detention alone is not enough unless other qualifying requirements are met. But you see, this creates a paradox. And what is the paradox? Apartheid itself recognized someone as sufficiently dangerous to detain. Yet democratic South Africa may still refuse recognition because documentary proof of organizational service cannot be established decades later. This historical injustice recognized by apartheid is therefore not necessarily recognized by democratic legislation. On the issue of SDUs, I wouldn't really like to comment much on this, because it's a simplistic approach by Treasury that formations are excluded by definition, but members may qualify if they can prove service under banned organizations. It's a very rigid legal classification rather than recognizing how liberation structures actually function during our years of conflict. On the matter of student activists, our National Treasury states that student politics alone is insufficient. Legally, this is understandable. However, the response oversimplifies history. Many student leaders became underground organizers, operatives. Many joined military formations, coordinated protests, distributed literature, organized stayaways, suffered detention, and permanently unemployed. So Treasury then draws an artificial distinction between student politics and liberation work that often did not exist in actual practice. On the matter of intergenerational justice, Chairperson, I am aware of time. Several submissions requested recognition that liberation sacrifices affected entire families. And then Treasury responds that spouses and dependents already receive certain benefits while children's bursaries exist under other legislation. This misses the point. The submissions argued intergenerational trauma, inherited poverty, educational disadvantage, psychological consequences. So now Treasury responds with existing benefit programs rather than addressing restorative justice. These are fundamentally different questions. The next point we are raising as a foundation, there is this constant referral to the Department of Military Veterans. Throughout the response document of Treasury, the Treasury frequently answers, this falls under the Department of Military Veterans. I'm quoting it. Administratively, this may be correct. However, from a citizen's perspective, this creates fragmented accountability. Applicants affected by liberation history are forced to navigate multiple departments in this country. Treasury never considers integrated policy solutions in their response. And on the verification structure, the Treasury opposes formal verification panels because previous systems led to corruption. The concern is legitimate, but the response creates another problem. If official verification structures are rejected and political structures cannot participate and applicants must prove decades-old activities, who exactly helps verify historical claims? Treasury criticizes previous models without proposing a credible replacement. On the matter of double pension prohibition, our Treasury argues...
Hello.
Yes, sir.
You were allocated 2 minutes. You have gone even beyond 4 minutes. Please put that in writing.
Can I use 30 seconds and wrap up, Doctor, with your permission?
I'll quickly do that. Okay.
So let me conclude and say that the document or the responses by Treasury, Dr. Maswangani, demonstrates that the National Treasury has carefully defended the existing legislative framework it does so primarily through a legal and fiscal lens, but consistently emphasizes administrative certainty, prevention of fraud, and adherence to the current Act. Those objectives are important. The responses engage only superficially with broader questions of historical justice, of restorative compensation, and the lived realities of liberation struggle participants. And so I conclude, Chairperson, by saying that the responses often explain why the law currently operates as it does, rather than why Parliament should maintain that position today. Thank you.
Thanks, Comrade Stanley. Oliver, Kok Oliver.
She's also not on the platform, Chair.
We are missing out too many stakeholders here. We'll have to do something about this. Let's see. The last one, Kosato.
Morning, Chair. I can go ahead if that's fine.
Yes, please go ahead.
Sure. Morning, Chair. Morning, members. Chair, I think from our side as Kosato, we're happy with the response by Treasury. We have supported the bill in full, and I think for our side it addressed key objectives, which is to enable those who through no fault of their own miss out on the opportunity to apply. It enables persons who feel that they were incorrectly denied to appeal. I think for us, those are the two critical things. But also, Chair, it also enables funeral assistance as well. And that's also obviously very critical given the age of many pension members, that at least they have some assistance to cover funerals, which you know can be quite expensive, especially in African communities. And I think, Chair, also that the fact that it also, like with other pension laws, it deals with some of the marital divorce, the benefits or estates due to the deceased members' families and spouses, dependents, etc., is also quite critical. So I think from our side, Chair, we didn't have any proposed amendments. We're not hostile to other proposed amendments where they made sense, but I think we're comfortable with Treasury's response, Chair. And I think from ourselves, the objective of the Act still remain valid. It's about essentially those who, because they were full-time involved in the struggle, whether in prison or detention, whether in exile, or in effect full-time employed without ever having the opportunity to collect a pension or to contribute to a pension, that they be assisted. And I think we also do appreciate that this is not going to resolve our many socioeconomic crises as a society, but trying to find a fair balance. So we do feel, Chair, however imperfect the law might be, it still does seek to address the correct balance. And the bill does try to address some challenges that have been experienced over the years. So I think from our side, Chair, we're just keen to see the bill being expedited by Parliament. We think straightforward and to be passed into law, and then obviously signed by the President and implemented, promulgated by National Treasury, etc. So I think, Chair, from our side as Kosato, we're keen on this bill. We have no further amendments to it. Thanks very much, Chair, and thanks to members in Treasury.
Thanks, Comrade Matthew. Comrade Ngezi, you said to raise something.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. I think one speaker said we appreciate the turnaround from the committee, but my point is here, Chair, a lot of people are not on this platform. I want you to just check how people are invited. We also did not get a formal invitation to this sitting. It's not proper that you get it by the wayside that there's this kind of sitting that is happening. You alluded to it, that you must look into that. So I'm saying formally, we did not get even a formal response. Invitation to come to this hearing. So it's an issue that I think you need to look. Let it not just be a ticker box. I think there's somewhere people are not doing things properly. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. We'll look at the records and follow up with the stakeholders who were supposed to be here. Then we'll take a decision as to what do we do moving forward. Because as I've said, public participation is very, very important when it comes to lawmaking. So we don't want to be found to be wanting in that regard. So we'll call all those stakeholders that were there on the day of the submission, oral submission, but today they are not here, and they were supposed to be here. So it's a matter that we'll deal with the secretariat at the end and see what we can do. Okay. There's no other stakeholder that has joined after Kosato. Alan?
Chair, the MK MVA joined the platform.
Okay. MKMVA, you are welcome. And you are given 2 minutes to respond to, I'm not sure whether you have seen the document from National Treasury, because it looks like you were not here when they gave a response. So let's see what we can do. Did you get the invite or you didn't get the invite? Or what was the problem that you are not here? So that we understand the challenge, because you are not the only one who was not here by the time National Treasury presented. MKMVA. Alan, have they disconnected?
I'm just searching the platform again, Chair. Just give me a second. It seems that they're not on the platform anymore, Chair.
Okay. As I've said before, we'll have to talk to all the stakeholders who are not here and check what is the problem. Why are they not here? Because desirably they should have been part of this.
MK is still in that platform. I see them, Chair.
MK, are you there? MKMVA? We are not succeeding. Okay. Okay, let's go to the next item. We'll see how we deal with these issues of the stakeholders who are not here. The item now is for committee members to engage their response from National Treasury and the issues that have been raised by stakeholders. Over to you, Dr. Beck.
Thank you, Chairperson. I must first note that I was only able to join this meeting 20 minutes late. I did tell the Secretary that would be the case this morning. The one input I have is to commend Mr. Wanyane, I think it's Mr. Stanley Wanyane, on his input today. And specifically this concept that Treasury must not think of the lawmaking process as them conceptualizing laws and then going through a number of steps that effectively ticks boxes on the way to affirming the initial draft of a law, but instead that this is an iterative, consultative process where inputs should be used to improve on the initial version, not to merely defend, as it were, the initial version up until its final conclusion. I wholeheartedly agree with Mr. Wanyane's inputs, and I think that is the way we should be thinking of drafting laws, and I do believe we'll get to better laws if that is the approach that we follow. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Dr. Beck. Honorable Van Rooyen, Honorable Scotty.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. A very good morning to members of Parliament and the support staff, as well as stakeholders who responded to a National Treasury feedback, and of course to the National Treasury team. Chair, I think it's very clear that a National Treasury seems to be not considering submissions from other stakeholders. I'm saying this because I will just cite one example on the issue of the age restriction or the age threshold. This submission is a recurring, in fact, it's more of a banal submission since the introduction of the amendments to the Principal Act. We have been hearing this submission, and uncompromisingly so, National Treasury continues to use the same assumptions that are challenged when a cycle of amendments to the Principal Act is introduced. They are using the same assumptions, irrespective of what stakeholders or maybe what constituents are submitting as part of this lawmaking process. So it's very clear that, of course, I think one presenter summarized it very correctly when he said, driven by the financial lens, Treasury seems not to be considering practical experience, lived experience shared by stakeholders and role players. Well, I want even in the last engagement on this matter that I know because National Treasury is guided by the principles of fiscal consolidation and austerity, they will give the same response. So it's very clear that Treasury has turned this thing into a compliance more than an amendment process. They seem not to be listening to the submissions by affected role players. But we thank you for your response, which confirms our earlier warning that stakeholders should expect on this important amendment process. Now, Chair, it's clear that the onus is on us as lawmakers to consider this lived experience that have been shared by role players. Because we are elected public representative who are expected to make the laws for this country. National Treasury as an administrative, or maybe National Treasury as a government department, its sole role is to implement the laws that we make. So I am going to urge all political parties serving or represented in this committee under your leadership, Chair, that we consider the submissions made by a National Treasury and, of course, the feedback received from various role players and make a final determination in the interest of our people. A National Treasury, like any other government department, is expected to implement that. Now, in the interest of time, Chair, because there are some small and positive provisions in these proposed amendments, as COSATU have cited one of them, which is the issue of funeral benefits. I mean, we shouldn't delay this process to an extent that access to those positive amendments is somehow procrastinated. So I will suggest that as we allow stakeholders to submit their written responses, making up for this challenge of non-attendance of most of them also, let's have a clear deadline, and it shouldn't be prolonged, because truly speaking, we really need to move with speed, because the unfortunate part that seems to be ignored by National Treasury is the fact that the so-called liberation heroes of this country are dying as paupers, and their dependents are struggling. I mean, to enjoy the little benefits that they have salvaged out of this so-called freedom, or the shadow of this freedom. So, truly speaking, Chair, I think we need to move with speed in resolving this matter, because unfortunately, some of the submissions are recurring submissions, and unfortunately, they will continue to be ignored if us as lawmakers are not asserting ourselves and using the legislative provision that we are enjoined, to utilize. And lastly, I didn't hear National Treasury responding. And I think it's important that we hear their response. So as much as I'm not expecting a lot from their response, but I want to hear what is their thinking on the specific submission that was made in the last meeting about the parents of children who died in exile, who don't have any other dependents. Besides their parents, because that's a specific question that has been posed by most of these parents. Are they not qualifying or maybe expected to qualify as part of this special pension provision? Because these people went to exile young and they died there and they don't have any other dependents, but their parents are still here. And I think there was a very nice narrative presented by one of the role players in our last meeting, explaining the African way of what do you call African way of expectations from dependents. So I want to hear what is the National Treasury response to that specific submission that was presented in our last meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Van Rooyen. Honorable Squati.
Thanks, Chair. Let me as well, Chair, welcome the responses by National Treasury, but also the submissions that have been, or issues that have been raised by various role players. But Chair, one of the things that I think we need to as well appreciate is that the National Treasury is also responding within the confines of the laws that are actually governing it. And it actually leaves some of the gaps that have been raised. For instance, there might be others that have been operating in the interest of band organizations, but not necessarily having direct membership to those organizations. I know, for instance, you might have a number of people that have been in psycho, but were not necessarily directly members of any unit, but working for the same interest of that band organization and so on. I think there is a very, very, thin line for us to be able to deal with the issues that are being raised. And I think Treasury might not necessarily be in a better position to deal with these issues or concerns that are actually raised by some of the stakeholders. And therefore, I was suggesting that because there was a recommendation that perhaps the military veterans department should actually be interacted with, so that we are able to deal with some of these issues that have been raised that National Treasury is not able to deal with, which I think some of the stakeholders might need to really go beyond National Treasury and start engaging. Secondly, Chair, it's the issue of the amendment itself, I think I would want to agree with the speakers who said, let us, I think it was Honorable Van Rooyen who says, let's not really, hold back the process of the amendment, because there are actually gains in terms of this amendment that is being made. The only problem might be that there are exclusions within those amendments, which I think that can be dealt with as long as we are able to create that opportunity for better communication, but also in terms of making sure that we are able to interact with those that are actually liable, but also responsible for the basis of the law of this act, actually, which is the veterans, the military veterans, to make sure that at least there is a way in which we are able to find an opening in terms of inclusion of those that might have been left out. Obviously, there are issues that have been raised from SIU that we do not necessarily have access to that information, which I think might also be important to actually have access to the report and the recommendations, so that as we continuously deal with these amendments, we do not necessarily go back to the same issues that have been might have been realized from the recommendations, or might have experienced from the SIU recommendations, so that we are able to then deal with the gist of what we need to do, particularly with those that feel excluded from the stakeholders, so that it's not the end of this process. Obviously, the law will not remain stagnant, but at least with the list of benefits that might accrue out of this amendment, let us find a way of really pushing it, but continue to still deal with the remaining concerns that are there from stakeholders. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Honorable Squati. Who's raising a hand? Vusmumze Mabuto, APA. We are done with stakeholders. I will make a ruling at the end. Now it's time for National Treasury to respond to issues raised by stakeholders and honorable members. National Treasury. If there's something that a stakeholder wants to raise, please talk to the Secretariat, then we'll take it from there.
Chairperson, thank you. I'm just gonna on the issues raised by the stakeholders now, and I understand you're gonna, or you'll decide whether you're gonna, or they will submit further submissions, and then if you require, we will respond to those, because there's some key policy issues that was raised that we will engage with the minister. The age issue was one of them. And the current provision in the Act about that a person must have been a member of a banned organization, and that there's no recognition for simply be detained and or participating in student activities, and then also the proposals in the by some stakeholders about the verification process by a panel. Yeah, and then also I think the fourth matter was the 5-year requirement that's currently in the Act. On the SIU report, the findings of that report was presented to the Finance Committee. The exact date will determine, and we will share the information that we have with the committee for the benefit of the committee and the stakeholders. And then, with your permission, Chair, can I ask Mr. Kobelo Jonathan to respond to Honourable Van Rooyen's question that he raised in his input, please?
Thank you, MP, and good morning, Honourable Chair and Honourable Members. In relation to Honourable Van Rooyen's question regarding the parents, indeed, Chair, under Part 1, parents of the deceased liberation struggle veteran who did not have a spouse or children, they were indeed paid. The Act provided for that. However, in the 2008 amendment, that particular provision for the parents was repealed. But a number of them, for those veterans who died without children, were indeed paid under Part 1. It may be perhaps a consideration under the bill, because that part was done away with in the 2008 amendment. But the issue around surviving spouses or living in partners or the surviving children, and the definition of a beneficiary there in terms of the Act is not only the beneficiary or biological child. The definition is very clear, is a dependent that was dependent financially to the liberation struggle veteran. So you would find that there are those liberation struggle veterans after 1994, when they came back, they also had to look after children of their siblings who are normal, and some may have been even killed because the security forces were looking for that particular liberation struggle veteran. Such a children, the liberation struggle veteran would have had a duty to support. Hence, the definition covers financial dependency as opposed to biological child. Thank you.
Thank you, Kabelo. Chairperson, I think just to reiterate, we fully appreciate that Treasury, we tabled a bill that was approved by Cabinet, the Minister of Finance, and it's now in the hands of the committee to decide whether the amendments are acceptable or not, and whether you want to include other amendments following the engagements with stakeholders and also committee members. But we would appreciate the opportunity to engage again with our minister on the 4 key issues I raised. I hope I've captured all of them. And then if you require, we will also respond to further submissions received from stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you, National Treasury. Thank you, honorable members. Now we're moving towards adjourning the meeting. In the light of the absence of almost half of stakeholders that were expected to be in this meeting, I think we're going to have a challenge to proceed in the manner that we're supposed to, because Parliament has got a model called adequate public participation. And by so saying is that stakeholders that are affected by a particular decision or a bill should be given ample opportunity to participate. I'm worried as to what happened to almost 4, if not 5, stakeholders that are critical to this bill not being in the platform. In the light of that, because we're supposed to be moving to the next stage of processing the bill clause by clause, and then a motion, and then consideration, adoption of the report, and so on. What we'll do after this with the Secretariat, we'll consult the Secretary of Parliament and the legal division as to what do we do, and so that we do the right thing. We don't want Parliament to be challenged. It's not that we're afraid of a legal challenge, but at the end, what we want is that there must be maximum, or what we call adequate participation. So we'll inform you, stakeholders, on the decision that we'll take after consulting the parliamentary authorities in this regard. There might have been a problem of communication, those stakeholders not having received the emails. We'll have to check that and verify. If they have received the emails, but they have apologized, we'll take those apologies and record them so that tomorrow it should be on record that Parliament did not deliberately exclude critical stakeholders in processing this bill. So that's what we have to do, so that we don't just rush for the sake of rushing, or tick box for the sake of ticking a box. We have to do the right thing. So I can't promise that next week we'll go to the next process of clause by clause in the light of what we have experienced. So we'll do the consultation and we'll communicate. Is there any other announcement, Alan, before I adjourn the meeting?
No, Chairperson, just another next committee meeting on Tuesday next week, also virtual 9 o'clock. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks very much, honorable members. As I've said, we'll come back to you. We'll inform you of the next process on processing this bill. And thanks to the stakeholders that have made it here. Thanks to the National Treasury, GPA, GPF, and other organs of state that have attended, the media and the public. The meeting is adjourned. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you,
comrades. Thank you, Chair.
How do they conduct other stakeholders?